One of the two biggest Marvel projects has officially been released with Spider-Man Brand New Day, and now there's only one thing to do but talk about it. Hello everyone, my name is Jake from Talk Too Much. I just got back after seeing Spider-Man Brand New Day. Boy, I'm just in enjoyment after seeing this film. So, cut straight to the chase. This will be a no spoiler video. Not going to be talking about anything big that happens in this movie. Please go experience it yourself. I highly encourage you, if you can get a seat, go see it yourself. I won't be talking about any spoilers, any big things that do happen in this movie. Kind of want to leave that under the rug for other people to discover themselves. You're here on Saturday now, day after its official release. Some things have probably been spoiled for you already, so just definitely stay off the internet as much as you can. But with all that being said, let's talk about Spider-Man Brand New Day. So Spider-Man Brand New Day stars Tom Holland. This is the fourth installment of the Tom Holland Spider-Man universe. This is following a couple years after the aftermath of No Way Home, a film that I would dare say is probably up there for one of Marvel's best works that they could have made. Just not only that, but I've always had one eye open for Spider-Man. I never was really so drawn to the other Avengers or the other Marvel Universe characters so much as I am involved with Spider-Man. I feel like I'm not the only one saying that, but whenever a project was done and it had the name on it, I had to check it out. I did go to theaters to see Spider-Man Homecoming, my introduction to Tom Holland. I thought that they were on the right foot with a younger Peter Parker. It made sense. Go back to the basics of how he should be, a young teenager. But I wouldn't say I absolutely loved it. In fact, I would actually say it's fine, but it's not something crazy I go back to. After that, we have Far From Home. A definite, again, step in the right direction. And so, before I get into the plot of this movie and furthermore, I just want to say Tom Holland has stepped up every single Spider-Man movie to the point where now I can actually accept him as my Spider-Man. I think he has done a great job slowly with his character arc and progression. So before anything else, I just want to give a huge shout out about Tom Holland. He's phenomenal. I am excited to see where he goes next with taking Spider-Man. So Peter Parker is pretty much facing the aftermath of No Way Home. He is kind of been going on and off these past couple of years in isolation, dealing with just the fact that no one knows who he is anymore. He is completely anonymous. He's completely blank. And so he kind of just does what he normally does, and he's your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. I do feel like it is safe to say that when it came to Marvel taking the craft of Spider-Man, there everybody knew there was a high expectation for this movie, especially after how No Way Home delivered. All you can think is there's a very high bar after doing that movie. What are we really going to go with next? And it's safe to say they went back to basics and did the smartest decision that they could have made and listened to their fans. Starting off with the positives here, this is very much a fan delivered universe movie. I say universe, but they were throwing out the idea of continuing on with the multi-universe films, including Spider-Man, and going more towards that direction. That was a rumor that was said to be happening. And I was very scared hearing that. I was just always wondering, are we ever going to go back to basics with Spider-Man? I'm so happy that they chose to go the opposite direction and they said, no, we're going to keep him contained in New York. This needs to be his own film. And it pays off so much after seeing the movie and just solely focusing on Tom Holland and Peter Parker as a character, not relying on help from Iron Man, Nick Fury, Doctor Strange, all the others. Even though you do have Hulk and the Punisher in here, it still feels like this is a very much only Spider-Man, only Tom Holland carrying the whole entire movie. Another positive I will have to say is I think the way that they put the narrative of the story was very smart. It doesn't give you that happy ending like a lot of people were probably expecting to get after the aftermath of No Way Home. It actually doubles down on some of the decisions that it made from that movie, and it just doesn't give the whole no, you're not, nothing's changed. Like, what happened in No Way Home is permanently set. There's not going to be any alterations. Spider-Man is not going to be able to change anything that happened before in the past couple of years. Is completely permanent, and I think that was so well. I'm so happy they chose to do that. I think with Peter Parker walking around and like seeing MJ and his best friend Ned from a distance, watching them get their futures and everything with MIT, and he's still kind of stuck in this whole isolation. You really feel bad for him, but also you're kind of like secretly rooting in the back of your mind, like, when are you going to tell these people? Because if you don't remember from No Way Home, Peter always had that one note to give to MJ about the aftermath of everything and who he really is. So you're left there wondering, is that ever going to get resolved? So they do double down on it. They do keep it exactly the way it is, but you can tell that this is Peter Parker fighting to really decide, can he be Spider-Man and him, or does he just have to give in and accept that he is only Spider-Man and that's all he ever will be? So I love that's a huge positive of where they decide to go in that direction. I think that was really, really smart. Definitely a spotlight on that. Another positive I have to give here is all the cast, all the performances were absolutely great. I think Sadie Sink, once her character is revealed, again, not going to spoil it here, but I think once she is revealed and once she starts becoming into this story, she did a great job. I loved the soul moments of her character and why she, acts and the emotion she brought to the film. I thought it was absolutely great. Her balance that she had with Spider-Man, perfect. I wouldn't change a thing about it. I think it worked extremely well. No complaints there. Another thing I wanted to mention was I think all the shots, all the action shots were extremely satisfying, from the web slinging and the photo shoots that they decided to do and the direction that they decided to shoot these shots were done extremely well. I was absolutely happy with them. I think once, there's that moment with Peter Parker where he had to fully embrace Spider-Man and bring out some extreme action shots. Those scenes were so fun to have, just sit there and watch. The whole you don't know who you're messing with, those moments, and like fully unleashing the character of Spider-Man, it was done really well. I was very happy with that, so another props for that. And lastly, as a positive, the way that they ended this movie was done in a way where I'm kind of wanting another film already, just to see. There's so much to explore with this universe, as contained as this movie is. From the comics, you still have characters like the Osborns with, Green Goblin and all that stuff, but you also have Gwen Stacy. So I was kind of curious if that was ever going to be introduced. It's not, go ahead and safe to say that. But it makes me wonder, like, there's still so much to explore. And I think with what they did with Peter Parker's character, it very much reminded me of the ending of Spider-Man 2 and and from Sam Raimi, and the way that Peter Parker was left. I think they kind of set up in a very similar position. So it's safe to say that they can make another movie out of this, still keep it contained, and still introduce new ideas and new threats to keep the story going. And so I'm really looking forward to the day that happens, the day that is announced. 100% on board for it. So I don't really have a lot of mixes here. Nothing too big that stuck out for me. I think they made a lot of bold decisions with this movie. A lot of them worked. Some of them I was kind of a little questionable on. And that mainly has to do with a little bit of the antagonist of this movie. Just, it changes the ideal of the threat. And so while it is still a New York style self-contained story, The threat is actually pretty big for a New York self-contained Spider-Man story. When you get the narrative moving along though, and it finally has that ending third act, you understand why this character is a threat. And when they have that exchange between Spider-Man and the threat, it crochets itself very, very nicely. It's just, I was very skeptical about that in the beginning of this movie. I definitely think that is something that will change for me upon rewatches, which this is a huge rewatchable movie, so 100% I can say that at least. Another mix I do have is while MJ does play a huge part of this story, I kind of wish they did more with Ned. Now, that isn't to say that Ned gets sidelined in this movie, but he is known to be Peter Parker's best friend. Fully understand. You kind of want him a little bit more involved because it feels like, yes, MJ and Ned are Peter Parker's best friends, but it primarily feels like Peter's focusing on MJ, which is kind of just a little strange. Kind of wish there was more of a connection with Ned there too as well, but again, with the way they left things off, I'm sure that will be explored more in the next movie. Now on to my negatives, and really I don't have many negatives other than it feels like this is kind of a movie that we have explored before. More specifically, if I had, without spoiling anything, it reminded me of the ending of Thunderbolts, which actually I think is one of the better Marvel movies that we've gotten in this phase. And eventually I'll release a Marvel ranking at some point, maybe at the end of this year. It very much reminded me of the ending of Thunderbolts and how they proceeded with the ending of Spider-Man. And it's not bad exactly. I just felt like we weren't reinventing the wheel here. It kind of felt like we were like, we've been here before, we're doing this again, just different characters mixed up. But that's a tiny nitpick. If I had to pick something out of this whole entire movie to complain about, that's really it. But again, when with everything else, I mean, it's a tiny nitpick out of a phenomenal movie. I think everything about this movie was done correctly. It was done the way it needed to be done. This was the Spider-Man that we should have gotten, and I'm so happy that they delivered. I'm so happy with the whole entire cast. I think the Punisher and the Hulk, it was something I wasn't able to get to with my positives, but just overall, having them involved in this movie, it added a lot and it helped it a lot without feeling like this wasn't a Spider-Man movie. It stick to that. It was just only asking for help, which I kind of really liked that about this movie. Again, it's your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. They do deliver on that name and what this superhero is. Extremely happy with this one. Check it out in theaters. Don't let it get spoiled to you before you get a chance to see it. This one and No Way Home are going to be easy rewatches for me, and actually I'm probably looking forward to seeing the next time Tom Holland's on screen with Spider-Man. So with all that being said, let me know down below what you thought about Brand New Day. Let me know what your favorite Spider-Man is. Give me your little ranking here. I will not have a ranking video for Spider-Man. Reason being is because we have Doomsday right around the corner, and I've been up in debate about whether I wanted to do a whole entire ranking of Secret Wars or if I'm going to do a whole entire ranking just with Doomsday. Now, with that being said, having Doomsday would mean it's 39 movies to rank. Biggest ranking that I will probably ever do. But Secret Wars being number 40, it kind of almost makes a little bit of sense to do 40. So let me know down below in the comments, would you rather have Secret Wars? Would you rather have Doomsday as the final cap for the ranking? And it's just a quick little ranking, nothing too big, but I do plan to release that video around Christmas time once we finally get Doomsday, if I am going to go that route. So let me know down below. Let me know what some of your favorite Marvel movies are. I've spent the past 8 months watching from the very first Captain America movie all the way up to last week finishing with Fantastic Four. This was a great way to end off right before we get to Doomsday, and it makes me even more excited. So stay in tune for that. Like, share. I'll see you guys in the next video.